Welcome, everyone. Very excited for this webinar today. I'm Austin Culp, Director of Sales at Inflow CX. I've got Todd Williams, our Senior Solutions Engineer, here with me, and we're going to be talking about navigating the Genesys native agent assist. Navigating native, a little bit of a tongue twister for you guys this morning as well. Before we jump into the meat of the presentation, I'm going to do a little bit of a high level just on who InflowCX is. If you've never interacted with us, important for you to have some context on, wait, who's this company talking about Genesys? So I'll hit that for 3 or 4 minutes in the very beginning, and then I'll pass it over to Todd, who's going to talk about, well, what is Agent Assist in the first place? How do you set that up and deploy it in Genesys Cloud? And then we'll have plenty of time at the end for any questions and answers. Feel free, if you have them during the call, to type those into the chat or save them for the end, whatever you prefer. Without further ado, I want to talk about who is InflowCX. We're an innovative provider of strategic advisory, deployment, and managed services solutions for contact center, customer experience, and unified communication solutions. So effectively what we do is we help organizations through guidance, execution, and optimization of their customer engagement strategy. We do that via a few different vehicles, technology, people, and processes. So whether you have needs around CX, unified communications, WFM, CCaaS, AI, automation, analytics, anything that touches your customers or touches your contact center agents, we've got some good expertise and customers very likely that look similar to you. Our approach is that we're technology or vendor neutral, okay? We focus on the technology evaluation, the labor strategies, and operational effectiveness of our end customers. And then based on your unique business requirements, use cases, and things like that, we help align you with the solution that makes the most sense for you. We're widely recognized in the industry as a leader through several different partners, Five9, Genesys, NiceCX1, Zoom, and RingCentral as well. We got over 75 employees today. I've done hundreds of contact center consulting engagements as well as installs, and have a great professional services team. Some of our customers, this is a sampling of them. We work with a lot of different verticals, and we're not, very vertical specific, right? The reason for that is we're not an IT generalist shop where we know a little bit about network, a little bit about security, a little bit about contact center. We know contact center, CX, and UCaaS, and we stay in our lane. And because of that, we learn lessons with all of these different types of brands that we can then apply, across a wide variety of use cases. So whether you're a BPO or a healthcare organization or a finance or insurance company, we know your space because we know what you're trying to accomplish. Last thing on my side, and then I'm going to pass it over to Todd, is this is just a sampling of some of our technology partners. There are a lot of players in the space, and this slide, heck, even maybe 10 minutes ago, but definitely 10 years ago, looked a lot different. And so the reason I bring this up is that it's very, very messy. If you're not constantly, doing a lot of due diligence and doing a lot of research in this space, and even if you are, it can be really, really challenging to figure out, all right, who are the best companies for me specifically, because my use cases have changed, or maybe they're different from the last company I was at. Let us handle that for you, right? We do very thorough vendor reviews and qualifications with all of these different technology partners, and we know this space like the back of our hand. And so for that, all I'd say is try not to get overwhelmed if you're looking at new technology. There are experts out there like InflowCX who can help you with your journey. And without further ado, I will pass it over to Todd to speak to us about Agent Assist in Genesys Cloud.
Thanks, Austin. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Agent Assist, what is it? Agent Assist is the ability to provide to your agents the information that they need to assist your customers. You don't want your agents sitting there with multiple different interfaces or accessing different types of information from different platforms. I mean, you have a notepad, you're going out to SharePoint. This makes it very cumbersome and very hard for that agent to find that information. So Agent Assist is going to surface that information for your agent within their interface that they're working with communicating with that customer. It's going to use a native knowledge base, which is built into Genesys that you can leverage for all that, keeping track of all the information, managing that information, and keeping that information up to date. It's currently available for digital channels, and it's coming soon for voice. The voice is supposed to be released by the end of this year, Q4. It may come out even sooner, but it is scheduled for Q4. The final piece that Agent Assist is going to give to your agents is not just giving them the access to that information, but it's going to also be able to leverage generative AI to basically do a summary of that conversation with that customer. And that summary can be embedded into the wrap-up so it can slim and reduce the time that those agents are spending wrapping up those conversations and improving the efficiency of the overall conversation. One thing I want to note is, or let you be aware, is it does require an additional license for the agents. It can be a specific standalone license just for Agent Assist, or there's what they call the AI bundle, which includes not just Agent Assist, but other usage features that you can leverage for from a digital and AI feature functionality perspective. So moving on, what I want to do is really jump into the demo and really show you how this is how easy this is to set up. So from what I have out here is I actually have a conversation set up in flight. But before I go into that conversation, I want to just go over the setup. It's really easy. Within Genesys, from an administration perspective, you'll come in here and you can build out a knowledge base with articles. If you have one to many articles based on what your requirements are, very easy to come up here and just create a new knowledge base on the platform if you don't have one today. Once you create that knowledge base, you add those articles. You can easily set up those articles one at a time, or you can do an import. Importing articles, you have multiple options. You can do a JSON, you can do CSV file, an XLSX file, or you can import from a web page. So if you've got a frequently asked web page that's got all these questions and answers out there, it's as easy as clicking on that, going to that URL, and having the Genesys consume that information and just basically build out your articles for you.
Excellent. And Todd, we did have one question that I think is appropriate now. We had someone ask if Genesys Agent Assist can dip into external knowledge bases. Let's say you already have one, don't want to build it out in Genesys. Can it dip into an external knowledge base that might be built into like a CRM, let's say?
So it cannot dip into, out of box, it cannot dip into an external source today. But from an import, we could import from that external database to have a starting point, and then you would manage it within Genesys going forward. On the roadmap, they do have the ability, they do have on the roadmap to have that type of a feature where it can kind of pull its information from an external, but it's not native feature within the Genesys platform today. Once you have the knowledge that's in the knowledge articles in Genesys, or in the future, it can maybe be pulling from that external source of record, then you can leverage and set up an assistant. Basically, you're setting up an Agent Assist assistant within the platform to use within your queues. So going back into the administration, you've got your knowledge base, you've got your articles all there that you can leverage. And then within the contact center settings, there's this new feature called assistants, and you basically define that assistant. And that assistant can be leveraged for different languages, for dialects. And then you're going to choose that the actual knowledge base that you want to leverage. And again, you're going to assign it to a queue. And then basically within that queue, you define what channels you want to open it up. As I stated before, it's available for the digital channels today, and in the future, it'll be available for voice. Once that is set up, you're going to go in and, again, configure your agents with appropriate licensing and permissions. And then from that perspective, it is kind of roles-based. If you're familiar with Genesys, you would be able to come in here, set up a role, and then that role would have the right permissions that you could leverage for using Agent Assist. So here I've set up a custom role with appropriate permissions that it gives it access to leverage that as an agent. And then from that perspective, I can use the features as that digital channel I'm interacting with. I'll have access to the agent assist features.
Excellent, Todd. We do have a couple more questions too.
Sure.
We had one person ask, if you're doing that import where it pulls from the web page, is it going to update if you update the web page, or do you then need to go in and re-upload the web page if you make any changes to that?
You would need to re-upload that web page if you made changes today. Going back to like on the future, they want to try to have more of a real-time or a batch type update process. And if you're familiar with Genesys, they have their ideas page where you can go and vote on new ideas and changes that you would like to see in the platform. And then that gets put into a bucket, and other customers can look at that and vote on it. And it can move up the list as far as getting into the product. But today, that import is a one-time, because that one-time import, I'll just go back to that real quick. Under the knowledge section, under the articles, that import process today gives you the ability to, right here, these are published. Maybe I pull in 1,000 articles, but maybe not all those articles I want to be exposed to my agents. You have the ability to go in and select the articles that you want to expose, and you can add more details around those articles, because we're going to pull in the article, which is a question answer piece of information. But within each one of these articles, you have the ability to tag them and put them in a category. Maybe there's ones that are under customer service. Maybe there's ones under billing. You could have different categories, and you can assign labels to them to better organize these articles of information, so you can manage them going forward in a more easier manner.
Excellent. Thanks. And then unrelated to the knowledge articles necessarily, Todd, we had someone ask about the AI generated wrap-up summary. Will that map to one of the wrap-up code values that already exist within Genesys, or does that create its own custom wrap-up code?
It does not today. It does not go to its own custom either. It is a feature that you as an agent can leverage today. And I walk through how that works so they can see. But again, if you're not familiar with Genesys, it is constantly updating. So every week there's new features and functionality that get released. Within those features and functionality, new additions to existing features can be expanded on. So today, what I'm showing you for Agent Assist is just what's available today. Down the road, it may automatically, like you say, map to a specific wrap-up code. It may do automatically be assigned to a group of supervisors or something based on something. I don't know. I mean, it is, again, the product is constantly changing, and new pieces are being added to it.
Excellent. Thank you.
You are welcome. Now, the items I've gone through as far as within the administration, very easy for you to go through the same process without having to memorize this or watch the video. You can go into the help. Genesys does provide a very extensive help documentation in help.mypurecloud.com. And if you look up Genesys Agent Assist, this documentation here I highlighted is for the Genesys Agent Assist. And it will actually walk you through how to set it up, how to deploy it, and how to use it. So I just want to kind of give you that, give you access. I mean, the information is there, and it's just it's a step-by-step where you can go ahead and walk through that process. What does this look like? So going back to the administration, I've already got a chat that's already here. I got a web chat that's already been connected. I'm talking to this customer that came in on the queue. Right now, there's not much in this conversation, just that it started. But the new feature up here, right here, Agent Assist, is a new UI window that's in here, available for the agent, that's going to present this information to them. And from a conversation perspective, as that customer is on your site, and as they ask you information that may be relevant to knowledge articles that are in your knowledge base, it's going to proactively push that information up there to the agent. So if they're asking a question about billing, or cancel, or change an order, or delivery times, stuff like that, it's going to proactively read that conversation and push that out to the agent, so they can quickly go up there, click on that article of information, and then easily send that information off to that customer. without having to go and dig through another platform or have a notepad on their desk or maybe notes on their desktop or look into some other database from that perspective. So it just gives them that quick, easy access to that information as they're having that conversation with your customer. As you can see, it could be related to multiple different things. I'm just doing very basic stuff here, hours. And from this perspective, I go back out here, it's looking at the locations. It'll pop up some items on whatever it's finding in that conversation. The agent also has access to type in. So if they were looking up something specific, and I don't even know if I have hours in here, but yeah, there's hours of operation. It would be able to find those hours of operation or maybe billing or whatever that manually, if that's a necessity. So it does have the ability for that agent to also just type in something and look up something on the fly if the customer is not actually asking for it in the conversation. So think of it as that assistant sitting there listening, and as that conversation is going on, if it hears something, it's pushing it out to the agent, or maybe as the agent's talking to that customer or thinking about what the request is in this digital channel, they might just type in something and get that information to send out to the customer.
Got it. And Todd, one more question from the audience.
Sure.
This, in building this out, do you have to code out an agent reference and then also a customer response blurb?
So the way I'm reading that is it's a question answer pair. And from that perspective, it's what is being asked is going to be searched within the knowledge base based on what's being captured from the conversation itself. And then the response is what these articles are. So it's going to pull up these articles that it's hitting, and it's going to put the most relevant ones first. And then you have the ability to comment or provide feedback on that. Did these articles answer the question? So it's going to learn at the same time, but you are coding a question and an answer, and then based on that, that's your starting point.
Got it.
Okay. And then I'll switch back. And then when this is all done, maybe I'm done with this conversation. And the key thing here is once I'm finished, to kind of wrap this up, using that generative AI, if I go back over here, it doesn't, I didn't have enough information in here to generate a summary. But what it would do is it would generate a summary here of that conversation that the generative AI would search through that. I didn't have enough information in that conversation. And then that summary would have the ability to copy and put into either the notes here within this actual conversation, or you have the ability to also put in the notes if you're leveraging our contacts interface, put those notes into the actual customer record, if that's something that you want to do. And here's an example of what I did previously of the summary. They were looking for assistance on a refrigerator, because I did have some information here around a refrigerator. And based on that information, we provided that to the customer. So, but that's how the automatic summarization would work based on that conversation that took place.
Absolutely. And then Todd, we had a question in the audience that someone asked, and they say, hey, during really high volume periods, let's say there's bad weather, high number of power outages, something that's going to, flood the queue with or chat or whatever with interactions. How is the response time from the knowledge base? Is that really quick? Does it ever get backed up? Can you talk through that?
I'm not aware of any delay in the knowledge base because it's all built within Genesys. So going back to the previous question, is going to an external resource. Sometimes when you go to external resources, that could add delays, especially if there's a heavy load as far as volume and or maybe just a time of day or a time of year based on internet connectivity. But based on the fact that this is all contained within Genesys, the response time is very quick. I'm not aware of any delays from that perspective. Any other questions?
No, that was all. Thank you.
Okay. So kind of wrapping this up, going back here, I mean, the key things I kind of covered was, it's easy to set up this knowledge base with relevant articles or FAQs. Once you have that database set up, or that knowledge base, then you configure your queue assistants, you set up your licensing, your permissions, and then you're ready to go. You're ready to leverage Agent Assist. The last piece is really around training and deploying, because that is a key thing. Is, going back to this example where we had this conversation coming in here. All right, just put another conversation here. You want that agent to really understand what the look and feel is going to be like. What is that experience going to be like as they get these interactions? And and be aware of the new features around here around Agent Assist. Where is it? How does it look? How does it work? So training is a key thing from that perspective. But once the agents are familiar with it, they have used it, it's very easy for them to kind of move forward and start using it. Let me go ahead and see if I can do that refrigerator real quick. So we're looking for a refrigerator, find some information, push that out to the as a pop-up for the agent. And again, as I finish up that conversation, let's see if it's able to do that summary for me. So now it's going back and looking at that conversation, generating that summary from a generative perspective. This takes a few minutes, because basically it's running in the background, looking at that conversation, and bringing it back and generating that summary. But any questions? Because obviously it's just going to sit there for a little bit. So
Yeah, well, that's pulling up. Audience, if we have any other questions, please let us know. While we wait on them, Todd, I do have one question.
Yep.
If someone's watching this webinar and says, man, this looks really great, don't know how we would implement it or use it as an organization, is there any companies out there you can think of that could help them with that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, InflowCX is right here. We're open for you to reach out to us. We've got several customers that are taking advantage of the Agent Assist today. Again, it's relatively new. It's been out for a few months. Again, easy to set up from a digital perspective, and voice is just right around the corner. And we would love to talk to you and help you get this set up.
Absolutely. Excellent.
think
Well, I
that's
don't see
it.
I do not see any other questions coming in, Todd. Do you have anything else, words of wisdom, anything like that to hit before we give everyone a little bit of time back today?
I would just say, yeah, if you haven't deployed it yet, move forward and either reach out to us to help you get it set up, or go ahead and read the knowledge information that's already out there, get started on it. Again, freeing up time for your agents and making their job easier is just going to make that customer experience better for your customers and for your internal employees.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Todd. Very knowledgeable and educational as always. We definitely appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.